So the Big Bear Jazztrax Festival was in June. How did that go, and will you be doing it again?
Well, it got canceled this year because of the economy.
Oh.
Yeah, but you know, you have cancellations. That's part of the promotional business. I hope to bring it back. That's where the Jazztrax studio is, but we have to wait and see what the economy does.
What about the baseball train? That was a super excursion. Will you be hosting another one?
People keep asking, and I'd say that stands a good chance of coming back. Gives me a reason to go to ballparks.
Your 5-hour weekly radio show is syndicated throughout the country and on demand on your website. Please tell us about it.
Well, it's been going since Labor Day weekend 1985, and it is designed, as it has always been, to be a showcase of the absolute newest. My guest is almost always debuting that week's new CD. So it scares a lot of radio stations. I'd probably be on more radio stations, but radio kind of tends to be very conservative and want to play the same familiar artists and the same music over and over and over again. That's not what Jazztrax is. Jazztrax is what's brand new. So it's a lot of fresh, new, brand new great songs, and always a great guest debuting the songs. And heard online.
Yes, it is.
It doesn't have to be on your local radio station, although we prefer it be. It can be heard anywhere in the world if you've got a computer and internet access at jazztrax.com.
So we are here in 2009. The economy is at record-breaking recession, and people are staying home instead of getting out there and seeing concerts. We certainly hope that the Jazztrax will continue forever. What changes do you foresee having to make to stay solvent?
Let's see, what can I say without getting in trouble? If you can make it through this year, you can make it through any year. I mean, everybody pretty much recognizes that this is probably going to be the most horrid recession in our lifetime. And as everybody rebuilds and gets realistic about their lifestyles instead of trying to take everything possible, if we make it through this year, and it's a tough year, we're down about 200 people per weekend, and you're right, we're an island destination, and people are not going to faraway destinations during the recession. But what we're finding in this particular festival, and I didn't see it coming, a lot of people who've never been to the festival before. It seems, and this is just, I have nothing to go off of, it seems that a lot of people who have come to this festival over and over again, and we still have our base, the people who own their seats in the front row and the tables, they've had them for year after year after year. They buy them for the next year immediately when they leave. But we seem to have a certain number of people who maybe said, you know, we've been coming to this event for a long time, we need to save our money. We have an unusual amount of people who have never come here before and decided we've had it with sitting at home and not spending money. Let's go to the island for the first time. And when you think about it, it's not, I think we were talking about this morning, it's not, you don't have to get to the French Riviera, you don't have to get to the Hawaiian Islands. You might be coming from east of the Mississippi, but so much is west of the Mississippi. Catalina is just 26 miles off of Los Angeles, California.
Mm-hmm. What we've been seeing is a lot of people, instead of going to 10 concerts, just individual concerts this summer, they went to one festival instead.
Right.
So the festivals have actually done fairly well.
And where else can you dance on the beach at midnight?
There is nowhere that you can go to Paradise that's 26 miles from LA.
Right. Where else can you get on a tour bus, come a night early on Thursday night, take a tour bus 45 minutes across the top of an island, stop at a historic airport in the sky that's breathtaking, have some great buffalo wings, and then go on down to the ranch that the Wrigleys had for their private residence since 1933 on, and listen to Peter White or Mindy Abair or Keiko Matsui performing Unplugged under the stars in the middle of nowhere.
And as well, the bus drivers stop at every wild animal along the way and let you stop and take pictures. And
did you see some buffalo?
We didn't this time. We saw deer and several other types of animals, but we didn't see buffalo. I was disappointed. So, what is your take on the
recession? The buffalo aren't going out as much.
Oh, I'm glad that they're complying with the recession. What is your take on the recent epidemic of smooth jazz radio stations flipping to other genres?
Well, it was going to happen because the format has not been paying attention to bringing in the younger audience. And the way you bring in a younger audience is by playing new music, fresh new music, bringing in new stars. And if you decide you're going to play the same songs over and over and over again, someone who's 25 to 35-year-old is not going to listen to you. The 50 to 55, 60-year-old, yeah, they've gotten a bit blasé. They're not as cutting edge as they were 20, 30 years ago. But once your audience gets over the age of 55, you can bet the advertisers are not going to be real interested in you anymore. And that's what the format did it to themselves. Thank God I don't want to put down traditional radio because it's very important. KIFM in San Diego has astronomical ratings still. But there's other ways to get it now. There's internet radio.
Yes.
So.
On a personal level, you have shared about your unfortunate divorce and the fight.
I call it fortunate, by the way.
Your fortunate divorce and your fight for your son. How are things going for you and your family now?
Oh, I settled on my divorce 2 days ago, and you know, the funny thing is when you get through a divorce, as angry as you are as you go through it, I understand now why people just want to walk ahead, and you never forget and you never forgive what you might have been doing. By the way, attorneys are the worst human beings on the face of the earth, lowest form of humanity. But you know, it's like anything. It's a cleansing thing. You sign your autograph no matter what it costs you, and then you start to prepare to rebuild. It's kind of like a war. I guess after World War II, everybody just caught their breath and said, let's stop hating the Germans, or the Germans said, let's stop hating the Americans, or whatever. And then you go, okay, how are we going to rebuild our cities? We've got generations to come. Let's fix it. Let's move on. I think that's pretty much the best way of putting it.
We read that you considered being a minister.
A long time ago.
So what drew you into radio instead of the ministry?
I grew up in a very religious family back in Indiana. And when I got to college, that was just, you know, who knows what they're going to do when they go to college. But I did have a brother who did become a minister. But in college, what turned me was I came to LA. I came from a little town in Indiana to Los Angeles, and there was this wonderful radio station called KNX-FM, mellow rock of Southern California, and they were so innovative, and their radio was really creative back in the 70s. And I kept listening, and I was working in a church in Pasadena, and it wasn't me. And one day I said to myself, maybe I don't have to do that. And if I didn't have to do that, I really like what this radio station is doing. And so next day I started to move in the direction of radio. So you're always influenced by that radio station, influenced me more than anything. And then of course I took it my own direction and created what I created. But
if you were asked to describe yourself, what words would you use?
Having just signed a divorce settlement 2 days ago, tired. You know, I'm like everybody else. You do what you do. You know, I love smooth jazz. You know what I listen to at home now? Classical music, because I need a break from what I do. But you know, this whole recession thing has kind of moved everyone away from what they thought life was all about to, you know, you should be happy with what you're doing, and you should do it as best as you can, and you should be honest and live within your means. So probably that's what I'm trying to teach my son.
So do you have anything new up your sleeve or anything exciting happening in your future?
Yeah, I want to, well actually, you know what, after this festival, we're going to be looking at ways to really maximize this historic 1929 ballroom. You know, our attendance is down, but this thing is such a unique location and event that this ballroom should be filled all the way through. And we're having to come up with new marketing ways because the old traditional marketing ways don't work. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to sit back and by next October figure out it. And then the recession was good, the divorce was good, because it forces you to sit back and go, okay, the old way didn't work, let's find a new way, and let's really find a new way, and let's fill this place. And you know what, you don't have to be president of the United States. You can just fill a ballroom for 3 consecutive weekends. So that's what we're going to try to do.
So is there anything else you'd like to add?
I just hope the Yankees don't win the World Series.
Thank you very much for interviewing with
Thank
us,
you.
Art.